In this video, we're going to discuss the shop behavior. And to do so, what I've done is set up a little vending area here in the subway station. And if I interact with this particular device, it says press E to shop, little newspaper stand. So I'm going to press E. You hear that sound and the shop menu opens. So this is the Max newsletter shop. I'm just using the out of the box RPG menu for demonstration. It doesn't have to be this particular menu. You can make it look any way you like. But here you can see the inventory for this particular shop. So that's the shop container, which we'll get into in a second, but do make note of that. That's the container for the shop. This over here is my inventory. That's my personal player inventory. And I'm going to click on the item that I want, and that's going to activate that item here in this little window. And it tells you a little bit about what I've clicked on. It shows the Max newsletters, the name of the object, and you can purchase this for 10 gold. That's just the default my money that's in there. And then you can sell it for 5, I guess. If you had one, you could sell it back. You don't have to have that, by the way. You can set it to like 0 and then you wouldn't be able to sell it back. But let's go ahead and purchase a newspaper, and you can see it exits the shop container and it goes into my inventory. Just for fun, let's sell it back to the machine. So we can click sell and it goes right back in. So that's the functionality of the shop, right? It's very similar to the way an NPC shop would work. And I'll link a video where I cover that. It's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is I'm not using a character, I'm using an object. Otherwise, basically the same thing. So let me show you how that all works. So we have the use range, which is how close do you need to be to the shop in order to interact with it. You have the use prompt, which is what it'll say when you get close enough. So it said press E to shop, so the player knows they can interact with this object. You have the shop screen, which is the name of the RPG screen that I'm referencing. So that's just the HUD screen 5 is the default. So I just left that as is. And then you have the shop container. Now I mentioned that before. On the right-hand side, that was where the inventory of the shop was held. And it's kind of like, think of it like a virtual container. It doesn't really exist, not an object. It's just, it's actually a database of objects that this particular machine sells. So if I wanted there to be if I wanted it to be full of newspapers, then I would need one for every object that was in that container. And in my case, I only set up one object, so we only saw one object. It was the last newspaper in the stand. But the name of the container tells it what objects belong in that container. And that'll make more sense when we look at the objects. So kind of hold on to that for now. You have the shop name, which is just the name of the shop being displayed at the very top of the HUD screen. We saw that earlier. Then you have the level bias. Now it explains the level bias pretty well here in the description. What it says is the shop container renamed based on the player level. It should say required, right? So in other words, if I wanted the level requirement to be level 5, then I would name this Max 5. And then I wouldn't be able to buy anything unless I was level 5. In my case, I didn't set up levels. I didn't go through that, much. Doesn't really apply in this use case. But if you did want a level gate for your shop, then that's how you would do it. Now the container is going to make a lot more sense after you look at the object. And the object I just stuck out here outside of the walls, so it wasn't visible to start, but it doesn't need to be in your level so it knows what to reference. And you can put all the articles that this particular shop sells all together, kind of group them together, and they're all going to be very much the same. It needs to be a collectible object because the object's going to go into our inventory, right? So in order to do that, you want to click on the general tab and make sure you tick this box that says is collectible. It doesn't need to be a resource. That's for like crafting. So that doesn't really apply in my case, but it does need to be collectible. And when you check this box is collectible, then what you get is the collectible settings. So I'll click on that. And you can see that I've added it basically to a database in the background. So this is the name of the object, the description, the item cost, the item value. So if I wanted to sell it back. So again, if I didn't want them to sell it back, I'd just make it worth nothing. And then you wouldn't be able to sell it back. Actually, I think it would probably go back in there, but you wouldn't get anything for it. Then you have the item container. So you remember before we referenced the item container in the shop, this needs to tick and tie back to that so it knows that this object goes into that machine. And if I added another one, like let's suppose I wanted to add, I could also sell vending machines, then I could do that. Just, make this a collectible object, reference the Max container, and it would be there in the vending machine as well, if that makes sense. The item ingredients and the item style, again, out of scope for this particular use case. That's for crafting. There's a whole video on that if you want to understand more about crafting. But that's all you need to know about the collectible object settings for the shop. And I think the last thing in the behavior was the sound slot. Now, this particular sound came from StepScavChad, who's really great with sounds, and he was so generous to just be able to throw this together for me. So I really appreciate that. And that really helped, sounded really great when I interacted with the machines. That's just whatever you want it to play when you interact with the shop. But that's it. If you enjoyed the video or if you learned anything new, please be sure to click the like button down below. It helps me out. If you're new here or if you just haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you stick around. We're trying to grow the channel all the time. So please be sure to subscribe. And then lastly, if you'd like a notification for whenever a new video is posted, I always say I don't really keep a regular schedule. I do try to post frequency, but it's not always going to be the case. So if you want that notification, bell icon's your friend that's going to help you out. Thanks so much for watching all the way through. I always appreciate that, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Hey, don't forget there's a written guide for every behavior, including ones I haven't yet covered on this channel. And if you want to learn some more, why don't you check out this video next.